All right, hello there. We're going to start a live stream here of a video. Welcome to this video. My name is Matt Petrowski, and we're going to be learning some more FileMaker. And in today's video, or today's live stream, we're going to be taking control of our favorites, making it easier to access servers and files. Now, I may have some people showing up on the chat, and we'll be talking about these favorites. They may have some comments, and that's one of the best ways to learn. So let's take a look at how we can manage our favorites. They changed it in FileMaker 16. Let's take a look. All right, we'll switch to my desktop view here, and we'll throw up the chat here really quickly as people will show some comments. So basically, in FileMaker 16, they changed some things. And these things are not necessarily very fun, because if you're used to working with FileMaker and using the favorites, then you're used to some of the older ways that FileMaker has done favorites. So we'll switch to FileMaker, and what I'm talking about when we're looking at favorites is we're talking about these areas right here where we've got, we can open our favorites and we have a list of files. Underneath this, we will also have some favorite servers. Now, I'm in a copy of FileMaker 16 right now, and FileMaker 16 changed things. If you're used to FileMaker 15, which I'll switch over to right now, FileMaker 15, as we zoom in on this one, actually has this little item right here, Manage Favorites. Now, that made it really nice and convenient, but they changed things in FileMaker 16. You can see right here that I have a server. And sometimes you want to remove older servers as they go away. You want to remove older files. And what they did is they sort of have this old system blended with this new system. So what's the new system and what's the old system? Well, when we take a look at the old system of the Manage Favorites and we select that, we get this nice little dialog box that comes up. This dialog box gave us a list, or the ability to actually add all of these different items. We had our favorite files, we had our servers, which were actually listed, and you could just click the little plus here. Now, I accidentally clicked there, and it's trying to, I'm going to get a timeout on this particular item. It's trying to connect to the server. And this is also a good thing to know. FileMaker is actually not frozen right now. The little spinning icon that we see, that's actually happening because of the timeout. And for some reason, FileMaker uses an extremely long timeout when it's trying to connect to a server. So this server black box, I know that it does not actually exist. And it's trying to connect to this, and it seems like FileMaker is frozen, which really sort of sucks. So we have to either wait for this or force quit FileMaker, and I kid you not, FileMaker uses like a 1 minute timeout or something, and sitting and waiting for a minute is like a long time. So as I'm waiting for this, I think what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to switch over to FileMaker 16, where I know the timeout is not actually happening. Oh, there it released. Finally, it told me no files. FileMaker should change that and make the timeout much slower. Here in FileMaker 15, it was very easy to manage favorites because you could very easily just edit a host with it selected. I could select here and I could edit the host. And then it would actually, oh, I did it again. Well, forget that. We're going to force quit FileMaker here because FileMaker is not fun when we're doing that. So we're not interested in FileMaker 15 anyway. We're going to switch back to FileMaker 16 now and take a look at how things are managed, because you may have a copy of FileMaker 16. If you're on 15, you've got that Manage dialog box, but regardless of what copy of FileMaker you're using, they implemented a new method of managing favorites. So when we go to this Open or this Open Remote, this Launch Center is this new thing that FileMaker introduced. The Launch Center and the favorites, as I get a nice little prompt there from my snitch, the Launch Center actually allows us to control our favorites using the icons right here. These silly little stars are basically equivalent to how you manage your favorites using that older Manage Favorites dialog box. So for example, this developer startup, which shows up in my favorites when I'm zoomed in right here, that's the first file that I use. In fact, here's your tip. I use a startup file myself, which is a lot easier to access all of your other files because you then have control over that one FileMaker file. So for me, what does it look like? My startup or my day starts up by simply going to the topmost favorite. I launch it, and then a FileMaker file opens. That FileMaker file, in turn, allows me to open all of my other files that I work with. You can see that I have, for example, an evaluate database and a FM recipes database. I get a little prompt there that says that it hasn't been authorized yet, but that just opens a database for me to be able to work with. So I personally find that using my own FileMaker file as a launcher is more convenient than using FileMaker's convoluted method. But let's take a look at FileMaker 16. FileMaker 16, under the Open Favorites, you can see right here that they removed that Manage Favorites. So you're sort of stuck in limbo in terms of, okay, how do I add a new server? How do I delete an old server? How do I get rid of one of these files? Well, it all happens within this open dialog box. If I don't want Technique Database, I have to click this star and actually turn it off. So now with that closed, we'll notice that the Open Favorite, it is no longer there. So it all hinges on that little star. But there's no easy way to do this. You would think that in the Open Remote or in some other thing, while they have the little plus down here to actually add new hosts, they don't have a minus. So this fms.localhost, which is basically a local copy of FileMaker running on my machine currently, it basically is listing all of these files. Now, how do I add a favorite back? Well, in this case, you notice that I've got a list of all of these files in my server. But that file that we had just removed, that Technique database, that's actually hosted here on this local file, I think, or it may be hosted on a different one. If a file is hidden in FileMaker, then the only way that you can access that is if you know the direct path to the file. Now, that can be accessed by selecting this little gear icon down at the bottom right here, where we can actually choose the option to select a network file path. So when we select that, if we know the actual name of the file, which in this case is pointing to my local machine, I'll take a guess here of Technique Database, and I bet you it's not going to find it. Yeah, it's not there. I think it's on another server for me, unfortunately, to put that back. But the way that you ultimately add a file back is if you can see the file within the Launch Center and you can open it, great. You'll access the file, then we'll add it to favorites. If you know the name of the file and the path of the file, the server and the fm.net, then you open that file directly. Then again, you can add that file as a favorite. So here what we're going to do is I'm just going to open up the, I'll open up the iSolutions theme that I have here that I use for iSolutions. And if I want to add this as a favorite, I need to go to the favorite menu, and then I can choose this add current file to favorites. So there we go. It has now been added for me. So now with this file closed, I can now easily access that file right here within the favorites. Now the one thing that I don't like is I don't know that there's actually a way to control this in terms of the order in which they appear here in FileMaker 16. In FileMaker 15 and earlier, it was a little bit easier. We can take a look at whether or not we can control that. Maybe that's where it actually is managed right there. If I want that one to show up, it's right there within the favorites. I can just drag and drop it right there. And again, it used to be within that separate manage dialog box. So nice comment, Eden, on iSolutions, given that Eden actually works with iSolutions. So there we go. That, for the most part, is going to be how you manage your favorites moving forward in FileMaker 16. If you're coming from FileMaker 15 and you're really missing that, let's open up FileMaker 15 again, since I force quit it. If you're really missing that manage favorites functionality, then you're not going to find it in FileMaker 16, and that's just unfortunate. But there it is right there. Actually switch to FileMaker 15. There we are. And manage favorites. And here is the old method. So there we go, side by side. This is the old dialog that you'll find in FileMaker 15 and earlier. This is the new Launch Center that was released probably around FileMaker 14, I forget when. But now all of the favorites are managed by these stars. Now, why did I actually create this video? Because I was used to this method right here. And so if you're an older FileMaker developer, been developing for a long time, and you're like, what the heck, FileMaker 16, where do you find this? I had to go to the community forum site, actually find out how to do this. Here in the FileMaker 15 and earlier, you would be able to just drag and drop right here in order to reorder them. And one thing of particular note, when you are developing on FileMaker version 12 and higher, then what happens is it shares the same preference file. So it doesn't matter whether you open open FileMaker 14, 13, 15, 16, they are all sharing the exact same preference file, and you will have the same favorites both for servers and for your favorite files as well. Actually, it looks like here I've got a little bit different. I've got a number of files there, servers, that I could connect to here in 15, but I think it really depends on the preference file when you've opened that database, when you've opened the FileMaker most recently, and then when you shut that down. But you'll notice that the favorites should be shared across all of the different versions when you have them open. So I think for this video, that is going to bring us to a close on this one. All right. In the future, if you have any questions, if you want to do I'm thinking about scheduling some live casts where we actually do this live. I'm recording this live. It's basically shooting my video, any topic or content that I'm going to be presenting. If you're interested in participating and we have more interactivity through the chat and so forth, questions, I'm thinking about doing it on Fridays, where on Fridays we actually just get together and I start a live cast at a certain time, and then we can just talk about anything FileMaker, basically go through a particular topic and address questions. And I thought that would be a fun way to interact with the audience. I didn't announce it this time. I'm still getting familiar with the web presentation software and basically being able to do these videos. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're interested in more FileMaker content, I'm releasing tons of free content here on YouTube, and you can click the subscribe button, or if there's anything that you learned that you enjoyed, then please give me a thumbs up. It helps out, gets me up in the rankings. If you're interested in more in-depth FileMaker learning and content, then you can always visit my website, FileMakerMagazine.com. So I think that is going to give us a wrap on today's video. If you want to know FileMaker, then please check out all of my other videos and head over to the website, subscribe. I'd love to have you join up. As always, much luck and happy FileMaking.